Hello, my name is Rod from rcdrone.com. In this video we're going to be putting together the Flying Cinema XL. I have the bottom section we're going to do today. Basically this is the two main plates right here that these go on like that to basically make the bottom section go together. And then as you can see with these arms we built in the previous video, they go into those squares right there to extend off and actually mount to the frame. And then we have all of our hardware that we mount to this one. These spacers will be going onto the top section of the bottom frame. And then I will install those and then cut to that in a second here. Alright, we're back right now. I did the top part of the bottom section. Got those mounts on there. This is the top. These are the short ones. There's 4 of them. Those will actually be the way the top section and the bottom section, this being the top of the bottom section, if that makes sense. There's some rubber bushings that go into these holes right here that actually mount it to stop the vibrations. These short ones will put washers and screws because that actually go through the top section. And you put a washer on there, so then in case those rubber things hit their limits and stuff, that'll be a hard stop so that it doesn't fall apart. And then this bottom section here, we got the long ones that are the same width as these. So that'll be support right there. And then notice how I have each of the hex, the flat side is against there so that it lies nice and flat against the supports there. And basically this section now with that like that, see if we got the, nope, there's a different angle, so if their top isn't lining up with these square motor mounts like right there, you swap it around and then that'll go down like that. And then we're going to take this is the motor end, and on the end we had those 3D print cutouts facing outwards to protect the wires. On this one we want those facing in, the grooves. We want the flat edge right here, or else those grooves that stick out will start bumping into each other once they're in the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and basically take these motor pads. I already got the nuts in them. Take these long screws here, and I'm going to put those kind of like this. And so that'll kind of mount in like that. And 4 screws through each, mounting into the bottom motor pad in the bottom. And then I'll come back and show you what that's like. Okay, as you can see, I've mounted all the motor booms onto the bottom section of the frame. I want to make a note here. Keep all these 16 screws that you use to mount that. Do not tighten those down yet. We want to keep those just so they're threaded into the nuts. Other than that, do not tighten it down any further than that. Just enough to hold everything together. Because before we do tighten those, we are going to want to mount this to the bottom section. And that will pull this bottom section frame into alignment. And then when we go to tighten down the motor mounts, we're gonna avoid any twists in the frame. If we were to tighten down all these right now, or tighten them down as we put them on, it could cause some issues with twisting. So I'm going to go ahead and mount these screws, the short screws, onto this. That'll go right into the those long spacer posts that we had earlier, and I will come back and show you what that is. Okay, I went ahead and I tightened down that plate in the bottom. As you can see, all those little tabs of the side pieces are in there nice and tight, so this whole frame here is pretty rigid now. But you still see the motor booms are still pretty loosely mounted onto that rigid frame. So this is where we have it on its correct right side up right now. You can see the motors are right side up. And you can see with the rigid bottom section, with those motor pads on the bottom that we bolted into, it's all 4 of them are firmly level on the table now. Once you get to this point, that's when we're going to turn down all these 16 screws that are holding the motor booms down and tighten everything up gradually as we go around. So we'll tighten this one up a little bit, not all the way, and then go across here and then right here and then crisscross across and then slowly work our way around until everything's tight. But we want to maintain this levelness of the 4 motor pads to make sure the whole drone is not have a twist in it. Once all those 16 are tightened down, we will actually be removing this bottom plate again to get access to it when we start putting the electronic speed controllers and stuff in the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten everything down and we'll come back to our conclusion. Alright, I've gone ahead and tightened down all those 16 screws. Our motors are now mounted securely to the bottom section. That's going to hold that bottom section together quite well. Everything's lined up. You notice there's no tip. Everything's level. It's not wobbling around like a chair at a restaurant where one leg's shorter than the other 3 and you're wobbling back and forth and have to put a napkin on it. That's what we're trying to avoid. It is safe now to take this bottom plate off. It should hold that rigidity and the not tilt on you. If you ever find you set the drone down on these pads and one's just not and it wants to wobble back and forth, just go ahead and loosen up all those 16 again and have this nice and tight section right here, these 3 screws holding that together, and then hold down on the frame so that it keeps level as you tighten down all those 16 screws for the motor booms. And we should be all set now to go on to the next section, which is putting the electronics, some of the electronics in the bottom section, the electronic speed controllers mainly, and getting our power source hooked up. And I'll see you then.